Shalbash Gino, Khoshalom. Thank you for continuing to cover this important story about oil exports from Kurdistan region. I'm here in Erbil, and this week I will be meeting with company representatives from DNO and HKN. And the APIKUR members, the companies are focused very much on getting oil started again. Yes, here's what we know. Last week, the Minister of Oil from Baghdad, Minister Ghani, announced that there would be 2 special committees between Baghdad and Erbil. And those 2 committees will discuss the budget and resumption of oil exports. Minister Ghani said that the meetings will happen within 1 week or 2 weeks' time. The member companies of APIKUR are still waiting. Our companies are waiting for their official invitation to these important meetings. And we are now looking at Baghdad and the Minister Ghani to follow through on his promise. He said there would be meetings, and we are looking for his leadership to bring those meetings together between Minister Kamal's team and also the Ministry of Oil with the invitation of international oil companies. Well, the work of those committees has not started, and I refer you to the Ministry of Oil in Baghdad for questions about the committee, or maybe the Ministry of Natural Resources. I have told your viewers, and we have said over and over again many times, that the company members of APIKUR are ready to participate in these meetings. We want to resume the full export of oil. Of course, this is common sense. You mentioned during the introduction to this segment that more than 450,000 barrels of oil every day were exported through the Iraq-Turkey pipeline. We think this is important for all of the nation of Iraq. Minister Ghani also said that he envisions a future, he sees a day some years from now when Iraq is exporting 6 million barrels of oil per day. That will be amazing, and in order for Iraq to achieve that goal, there must be oil production and exports from Kurdistan region. We have not received notification about when the meetings will take place, but we are ready to participate. And I forgot to mention at the beginning of this, our companies also care about people in this region. And we noticed this flooding that has happened throughout Kurdistan region, the big rains and flooding, and the fire that happened in the bazaar that burned down some of the stores that are so important to the heart of the small business in this region. And we extend our condolences and our warm wishes for all those who have been suffering from the fire and the floods. Yes, we have shared our requests both publicly and privately. Our requests are simple. 1, we request that if there are any changes to the structure of the contracts, that our fiscal terms remain. We want the same financial terms in any new contracts. 2, we know that the APIKUR member companies' contracts are between the Kurdistan region government and our companies. If there are any changes, they must be agreed to by both parties, the KRG and the APIKUR member companies. Those are our most important conditions, and we think that there is a possibility for all 3 groups the companies, the KRG, and the Ministry of Oil to sit at the table and come to an agreement that will achieve the goal of Prime Minister Soudani and Prime Minister Barzani, and also the influence of the United States and other countries that have want to have Iraq's economy be as strong as possible. We would like everything to stay the same. We thought the conditions of our contracts and the exports that were happening before March 2023 were good. There was a lot of money coming into the KRG, and that money was being used to pay important salaries and for the Kurdistan region to invest in important infrastructure. Also, our companies are continuing to make investments, and we were making investments to improve the production of oil, but we have had to pause the investments. We stopped making $400 million in investments, and now everybody has lost more than 15.5 billion US dollars. All of the people of Iraq and the governments and the countries, the companies have lost this money. So we need to get back to full exports fast. Gino, I have been asked about the cost of production. Today I saw reports that there is a new budget that the parliament in Baghdad is looking at, where they measure the budget based on $70 per barrel. That's a good measurement, but one thing that we should know, this budget had a deficit. There's a shortfall. The economy of Iraq is so reliant on oil. It must have oil that is exported. So it makes sense to us at APIKUR companies, and it also makes sense to your viewers, your people at home who are watching in Halabja and Chamchamal and Dahuk. All of the viewers know that what would be smart is to start exporting the oil immediately. Iraq needs the money. There should be no more delay. Let's get this oil exported. It is not time to point fingers and blame any sides. We need to take action. People are suffering. Every day I hear from workers who are in the oil industry or in transportation. Well, I mentioned at the beginning of this interview that Baghdad has called for 2 committees. We're waiting for the committees to come to the table to have a solution. And the oil companies are visitors at that table. We will be invited to the table. So it is up to the government to take leadership and resolve this issue. We saw that President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Soudani discussed the oil issue. And in the formal statements, in the joint statement between Iraq and the United States, they said that it is important to resume the export of oil from Kurdistan region. So we know this is a priority for Prime Minister Soudani. Now we are waiting for action from his team. Let's have the meetings. President Erdogan discussed these issues when he visited Baghdad recently, and these Turkish and Iraq discussions are between the 2 nations. But the oil, the pipeline works, and there can be these discussions about this $1.35 billion, but that is not stopping the oil from going through the pipeline. The proud Kurdish workers, oil workers, are ready to turn the switch and get the oil flowing out through Ceyhan port. That will help the economy of Turkey and help the economy of Iraq and, of course, help the economy of Kurdistan region. Yeah, one of the things we know by reviewing the export contract, the pipeline contract between Iraq and Turkey, is that Turkey is penalizing Iraq $800,000 every day. There is a fine every day of $800,000 that Baghdad owes Turkey because there are supposed to be a minimum amount of oil going through the pipeline. All of the delays just make the cost go up and up and up and up. That's why we have been talking to you and talking to the government and encouraging everyone to have meetings to get a solution. Now is time for action. Yes, this is part of the pipeline deal between Baghdad and Ankara. Yes, we know that there are ways to get the money that we are owed. Our companies are owed about $1 billion, and there are ways to get that money back through future sales. So our priority right now is that all three parties sit down at a table and come to a new agreement, and that our fiscal terms, our structure of our agreements stays the same. So that is our focus here. We are prepared to work, and we have had some discussions with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Ministry of Oil, and everyone agrees that our companies are owed $1 billion, and this is for oil that was produced between October 2022 and March 2023. So we feel that the government officials have acknowledged that the money is owed to our companies, and our focus is on beginning the exports, and then revenue will come in, and when money is coming in, we know we will get the $1 billion that we are owed back. The halt of exports has damaged Iraq and Kurdistan region in several ways. One, as I mentioned before, more than $15.5 billion has not happened from the sale of exported oil. Two, the continued attacks on the contracts between the KRG and the oil companies, Baghdad's attacks on our contracts, it threatens the investment environment. There are other companies, other international investors who are approaching investing in Iraq with caution. They wonder, are their contracts going to be honored? And three, most importantly, the damage to the economy is hurting people. It's hurting men and women who just want to work, earn an honest living, and to have a strong economy. Iraq is the second biggest producer of oil under OPEC. And we believe, at APIKUR, we believe that Iraq should look like United Arab Emirates and Qatar and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, these countries that have great infrastructure and are attractive to international business. We believe that Kurdistan region can be that way. Well, at APIKUR, we believe that there is strong opportunity for oil and gas investment in Kurdistan region. And our companies, we are 8 companies strong. We have invested more than $10 billion to explore and develop the oil industry in Kurdistan region since 2005. And we have plans for future development, but before we can make plans for future development, we must have agreements to continue the oil being exported through the Iraq-Turkey pipeline. Well, one of the largest problems facing international investment in Iraq is the banking system. And the banks are not all part of the international banking system. So sometimes it is challenging to move money in and out. Another problem is politics and the influence of neighboring countries on Iraq's court system. And there have been rulings by the federal court system that have harmed the KRG and the Kurdistan region. And so we are looking for fairness, fairness in that all businesses are treated the same. A business in Amara should be treated the same as a business in Zako. A business in Choman should be treated the same as a business in Fallujah. That's fair, and that will make a strong investment environment for international companies. We do not have a timeline on when oil will go into the global market, but it is important that there are multiple locations, different locations for exporting oil from Iraq into the global markets. We have seen disruptions in the supply chain from the conflict that's happening in Gaza and the Red Sea. So there needs to be multiple places where oil is exported from. Ceyhan port is important, and then there's also, of course, Basra and Qasr as important points for the big oil tankers to get the deliveries of Iraqi oil and send out to the world. And 0.4% of the world's oil was coming from Kurdistan region. And Kurdistan region should be very proud of that, and it is an important region for the entire global energy markets.